We got the latest update in the 2311 versus NASCAR court case, and this one involves Liberty Media. We find out the future of the Clash and what direction it's going to go in, and TNT has announced its booth, so let's talk about it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, Bob Pockrass dropped this tweet here about the latest movement in the 2311 Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR trial. 2311 and Front Row have dismissed court proceedings with Liberty Media Formula One in trying to compel compliance with their subpoena for F1 financial info. Either the teams settled and got some info or dropped this quest. Other cases against IndyCar, NFL, NHL, NBA continue. So obviously 2311 wants the information from F1. F1 not apples to apples as far as what they're doing with NASCAR, but they would want some financial information to see how it's set up so that they could use it in their case against NASCAR. Now obviously F1, Liberty Media, whatever you want to call it here, does not want to give up that information because nobody wants their financials out there for everybody to go over and run through. But it was interesting that Bob Pockrass said that one of a few things happened. Either they dropped the case altogether, which I don't think is completely likely because they've still got those other cases going on with the NBA, NHL, and IndyCar. So it's reasonable to assume from that information that they either reached an agreement with Liberty Media and F1 to get the information that they wanted, or have they settled with NASCAR? Both of those things could be true. I would lean toward they got the information that they wanted from F1, or maybe they just gave up on it altogether because they think they're going to get it from the other ones. However, I think they probably got the information that they wanted. But either way, how it works, I don't think that they have settled with NASCAR just yet because they still do have those other lawsuits going on with the NBA, the NHL, and IndyCar. Now, whether or not that information will help them in court, I don't know. I'm not an expert on this as far as that goes. But that is the latest update on the 2311 Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR deal. I know a lot of people ask me about that all the time, so there you go. That's the latest. Kyle Larson tweeted this out yesterday, championship rotating model. And of course, the rotating championship was the talk of the town yesterday. I think everybody universally is happy that the championship is rotating. How often it will rotate is the only question that I have. Like I said, everything about this is super positive, so not really a lot to add here. But how often it will rotate is one question I have. And what track will it rotate to after the last two tracks that it's been to? Obviously, Phoenix was the last one. Homestead Miami is going to be next season, but the one before that was Homestead Miami. So who is the next track on that list? And even bigger, will it be another NASCAR track or will it be a Marcus Smith track? Those are all things that are going to have to be worked out. You think at some point they're going to have to share the wealth with Marcus Smith over there. So at some point, will we get a Marcus Smith track for the championship race? Those are the only real questions that I have remaining as far as that news goes. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the championship race wasn't the only future that was sort of decided because today Dustin Long had this article where the NASCAR Clash exhibition race is expected to remain in the United States in 2026. And in that article, he has a quote from Ben Kennedy. Ben Kennedy, NASCAR Executive Vice President, Chief Venue and Racing Innovation Officer, suggested Tuesday that the Clash exhibition race will not be held internationally next year, although that remains an option beyond 2026. I think as far as next year goes, more than likely it will stay domestic here in the United States, Kennedy said in response to a question from NBC Sports. I wouldn't ever rule out international in the future, though. We have thoughts about a lot of it being prior to the season. In the off-season, the exhibition race, it's a great opportunity for us to bring NASCAR racing to other parts of the world. So kind of a lot to unpack there. Obviously, last year it was at Bowman Gray, the year before that, and the year before that it was at the LA Coliseum. If I had to guess, I think the next race that they have will probably be at Bowman Gray again. They probably signed a 2-year deal with Bowman Gray, so if I had to guess, it'll probably be Bowman Gray again. It seemed to be well received. That race was actually really well liked by fans and by drivers alike. Noah Gragson was a huge fan of it, if I remember correctly. However, with a new revamped Rockingham, is that part of the reason that they revamped Rockingham? Is the is the Clash going to be at Rockingham next year? That could be a wild card that's maybe in the mix there as well, but like he said, it will be in the United States next year. However, in 2027, let's take a look at that. Is 2027 the year that NASCAR finally goes to Canada, or will it go to Brazil? We've heard a lot of different countries mentioned for an international race, and this would be the perfect time if it goes to Canada. Does it go to a circle track? Does the Clash finally go to a road course? Canada has a ton of really great road courses that people would love to see. However, would that fit the Clash format? That is something that will have to be answered. And then where would they race in Brazil? NASCAR has done all kinds of different things, including racing the last few Clashes here at basically football stadiums. So what NASCAR would do if they took it, and where they took it, and what the track would look like all remains. But I think top of the list would have to be probably Canada or maybe Brazil. You heard some Brazil talk at one time as well, but I think leading strongly toward Canada if another international race after the Mexico City race happens would probably be my guess there. But, let me know down in the comment section, where do you think NASCAR will go internationally with the Clash if they do that in 2027? And finally, TNT announced their booth for their NASCAR races. Adam Alexander is going to be the lead lap commentator. This is from a Google search, so I don't know exactly how to credit this one. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be a color commentator along with Steve Letarte, so a very familiar feel there from NBC Sports with Jr. and Letarte. And then Adam Alexander jumping in there. You know what you get with him. He's been doing this for a long period of time. You know what you're getting there. Solid team. The pit reporters are going to be Marty Snyder, Danielle Trotta, and Alan Cavana. And then the NASCAR Nation studio show is going to be Shannon Spake, Jamie McMurray, and Parker Kligerman. However, TNT was not done, because much like they do with the Manning cast in the NFL, you've got the regular broadcast and then you've got the Manning cast on Monday nights for ESPN on two separate channels. TNT is going to take a look at that model and kind of do the same thing, because now we've got Larry McReynolds and Jeff Burton. They will be simulcasting on True TV during the coverage. So if you want to take a break from Adam Alexander, Dale Jr., and Steve Letarte, or maybe you just prefer Larry McReynolds and Jeff Burton, you now have that option for the TNT portion of the schedule. So there you go. That is the news for today. All right, that's all I got for you. Appreciate you stopping by, and on to the next one. Peace.